Hello and welcome back, all of you minimalist cleaning queens and kings. Let's get to laundry stripping. Now, a less mature person would make a joke about that, but I, of course, am not that person. If this is your first time here, my name is Robin and I make videos for people who are trying to minimize all of that excess clutter in their lives so they can bring peace while also maximizing their productivity, getting some good habits so you can actually relax being home. Now, I know you want to get to the gross stuff right away, but first, what is laundry stripping and why do we need to do it? So laundry, like clothing and towels and sheets, can get discolored, they can get smelly, and the cause of that is actually often hard water, or it can be using the wrong detergent, and it can just generally happen over time. This has been the bane of my existence for a while until I switched to Tide, which is very helpful, and I do not need to strip my laundry very often. Now, the Tide powdered is what you need to use because it actually has enzymes in it that help break down all of the oils and release things, which is why it works so much better. Another thing people might be using is more natural things like laundry soap or even just washing soda, which funny enough is actually one of the ingredients in this, but it can build up over time, especially if you have hard water. So what is trapped on the clothing is mostly soap, but it can also be oils, some skin cells, and bacteria, which is why it starts to smell, and it is vile. So the first thing we're going to use is Tide laundry detergent. Now, I completely recommend this as well. This is what Go Clean Co uses. And again, like I mentioned, it has those enzymes in it which help it work far better than any of the liquid detergents. The second thing that we're going to use is borax, which has boric acid in it, and that helps work as a water softener. Even if you have soft water, it's still very helpful because it also acts as a laundry booster. Now, the third thing is washing soda. So there's Arm and Hammer. So there's Arm and Hammer washing soda. I actually had Nellie's washing soda in my house, which works just as well. So I'm very happy about that. Now that also works to help soften hard water, but it also works as a laundry booster. So these three things work together very well. Another optional thing is Calgon, which is harder for us Canadians to get, but you can use that as well, which helps soften hard water. The other products work fine for me, but if you have super hard water, I would look into getting that. So I'm going to show you three results: interesting, gross, and awesome. And I'm going to go over my tips at the end and also what I would do different than Go Clean Co. So let's get cleaning. So the first thing I'm going to use is something that has been grossing me out for a long time, and that is my husband's work shirts and his work pants. So I thought, let's strip them. I've never stripped these work pants, so I'm going to throw those in as well. First things first, you got to make sure that you're cleaning in a clean vessel. So you can use a laundry tub, your actual stand-up washer that's top loading, or you can use a bathtub. So I use my garage laundry sink. It's kind of cold in there, which does impact the length of time I can do this. More on that later. So Go Clean Co's recipe is 1 heaping scoop of Tide powder, a 1/4 cup of borax, and a 1/4 cup of washing soda. And we're gonna fill the tub with really hot water. So once it's full, I'm gonna throw in the clothing, stir it around, and then I'm gonna go watch some friends. After every episode, come back, stir it. So every half hour. Now I like to stir it using the tongs, but also it's good to use washing gloves. And you know, I love me some washing gloves, although again, they are hard to get off. And I always have a video on that because they're always hard to get off. We're gonna let it sit for 4 to 6 hours. As soon as the water starts getting too cold, so like below your body temperature, then you're gonna wanna take it out because any of the fats and oils in there are going to start solidifying, which will make it harder to come out later. Now you're gonna slug it into a giant bowl or something that does not have holes in it. Once I thought maybe there wouldn't be enough water and I threw it in a laundry basket. Well, you know that was a disaster and ended up sloshing water all over the place, which just was not what I needed that day. So lift it with your knees, bring it over to your washer, throw it in there. Then you're gonna run your wash and you're gonna do an extra rinse, but don't add detergent because we're washing out all of that extra detergent. There's already detergent in it. Why? Now look at this gross water. Now this is why I'm gonna show you a few different ones, because this one you can see there's a lot of dye that has come out. They have extra dye in them, they're fine. But there is some gross grime in there. You just can't quite see it because of all the dye. So clean now. They don't smell bad. They smell nice and clean. They're light, like When clothes need to be stripped, they almost feel heavy and filmy. These feel super clean. I love it. I'm so happy about that. And the pants, I don't have the pants. The pants, they still have just as much color as they did before, which is wonderful. Our sheets have been looking kind of yucky and they feel gross. Sometimes there's a buildup. Now, yes, that is a silk pillowcase that I use. I use it for my hair because I don't want any frizz, even though I get frizz. But I'm not going to do that because number one, I'm using hot water, not good for silk. And also, I don't think that all of these washing things are good for silk. Clearly, they're not. Again, you want to make sure that your laundry, your fabric, your towels, everything, the material and color can handle what you're doing. So you can test that ahead of time by putting the products in a spot that you can't see. Or if you know that it's something like silk that's not going to handle it, don't do it. I wouldn't do wool, anything like that. So after I did the same process, stir it after every time I go and dance. Come back, and then I'm going to, again, bring it into the washer, run it without soap. And now look at the results. The water is looking a lot more murky. You can't even see my hand at the bottom, and you can see that it is more gray and more yucky. So now the sheets are great. They don't have that yucky film anymore. They're nice and clean. I love it. So I'm satisfied that it got stuff out. But again, I was like, that's still not dramatic enough because I've been washing all of these things in Tide and I have stripped a lot of them before. So it's not dramatic, and I like dramatic. We want something gross. Now along come doing some whites. Whites can look dingy. One example is my son's socks, which are just disgusting. I mean, he is a teenager, but like, ew, right? So again, I throw all of my whites in there, give it a stir, come back after every episode of Friends, every half hour, give it a stir, throw it in the washer. Now look at the water. This water is gray. It's brown, gray and brown at the same time. It's gross, it's murky, it's disgusting. So this is a lot of that soap. It's some skin cells, it is some oil, it is disgusting, and it is a success. And this is how the socks turned out. They're a little stained still. They're not nearly as stained as before, which is great because it was getting kind of embarrassing if you go to anybody's house and they were all gross. I was like, oh, come on, man, you're making me look bad. And now my own shirt had a few sweat stains on it, which are a little bit better, not great. I mean, that is not something that is easy to get off. I will work on that. Now, always make sure that you clean the area that you are going to be doing the stripping in. Make sure that you're using color-safe clothing and fabrics and that they're not going to be damaged by the stripping process. Make sure that you let it sit minimum 4 to 6 hours because that's when things start coming out. But once the water is cold, it's not doing any good anymore, so throw it in the washer. Now, my suggestion would be to use only half of the Tide. So I would actually use about ½ cup of Tide to ¼ cup of the borax and of the washing soda. You don't need that much. It's kind of a waste of Tide. If you were doing like it in a bigger bathtub or a larger batch, then I would just do sort of like a 1-to-2 ratio. So say ½ cup of borax and a cup of Tide. I think that a huge heaping scoop is just too much. It's just not necessary. So for more cleaning and Fly Lady videos, click here. I also have a whole section on minimalism and I'll be adding to that shortly, so click here. And I hope you subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye.